All right, welcome in. Are you Cirrus? Episode 60.
60.
Ooh,
Man.
milestone.
60.
Cheers to that. That's awesome. Also, welcome into your number one climate change podcast.
Flagged and all.
Flagged and all. And I had to say that because anytime we mention climate change, the past two episodes have blown up.
I know.
So
I love it.
welcome in. We're going to talk all things climate change today. No,
Yep.
in all honesty, though, 60 episodes. It's been pretty fun.
And it took us, 57 to get flagged?
57
episodes
and
to
we've
get
been flagged ever since.
I love it.
I think
it makes me
that's-
so happy.
That's a progress. We've done it, right? First and foremost, if you're listening to us, I know some of you have actually messaged us and said, hey, you enjoyed listening, which is great. Most people tell us they watch.
Yep.
It's good to have some listeners. I'm meteorologist Andrew Dockery.
And I'm Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold.
And we are in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, WMBF News. Listen, the weather has been fantastic this week.
We got the vests on. It's crisp.
Ooh.
There's a breeze.
Can't wait. Hot cup of coffee.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so great. And, you know, there's a lot, obviously, that is still happening in the recovery efforts of Helene and Milton, and we're going to dive into that here in just a couple of minutes. But before we do so, I feel like it's been go
Yeah.
for weeks, and it still kind of is, but the weather's quiet.
Weather's dull.
How's Jamie been?
Jamie's good.
Good.
Really good. Doing some schedule adjustments here at work.
I was about to say, are we
So,
on
so I'm not quite as exhausted.
like it?
Yeah.
You may see some stuff soon. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all we're going to say. Working
I'm
on a
gonna
couple
say.
of big projects that should be poking their heads out soon for a little debut. And because of that, I work a slightly different schedule. Most people won't even notice.
Yeah.
But for me, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'm getting sleep.
Which is
good.
key in this
Good.
industry.
Yeah.
I'm going from seeing you like once or twice a week to now seeing you every day.
Every day. I
which
know,
is
it's nice.
kind of weird.
It's weird.
It's
because it's normally a hurricane
It's
when
like,
we see each other.
good to see you. It's
Yeah.
been 4 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously that's been good. I want to tell you can like, rate, share, comment, subscribe, all that. So thank you. I'll be completely transparent. We have a lot to talk about in this episode, and I know both you and I. We won't do Shooting the Breeze. We got questions that are in there. We've just been busy kind of prepping for this show because we do have some stuff to talk about. We did Helene last episode.
Yep.
I feel like we have to give respect to Milton, but kind of in a different way. So let's first off talk about Hurricane Milton.
Yeah.
Made landfall last week, Category 3 hurricane. Can we just talk about first the forecast from the National Hurricane Center before we even talk about the impacts?
This is why you go with the Hurricane Center and not
Yes.
a model. Mm-hmm. 12 miles.
Wow. 12. So they issued the advisory. It's the first track per se.
The very first one, which was issued the Sunday before landfall on Thursday, right?
Yep.
It was a tropical depression.
Yep.
They issued the forecast track, forecasted to become a hurricane 5 days out.
Category 3 too.
And it hit as a Category 3 12 miles from where that initial forecast said it was.
One of the best forecasts from the National Hurricane Center I can ever remember.
Yeah.
That early.
Absolutely incredible.
Typically, they're very happy with a 50-mile, 70-mile gap. You know, if you're in that cone and that's where the forecast is, it verifies.
Yeah.
12
miles. 12 miles, 5 days out.
Yeah, and it was just 12 miles to the south.
Yeah.
So, once again, improvements there. Let's also talk about Milton because a lot of questions came in, and some of the questions that were in Shooting the Breeze that we'll get to at a later point. Obviously, you have the wind and the surge. We knew that was going to be bad. We knew the wind field was expanding with this storm. The tornadoes.
The tornadoes were a surprise.
Yeah.
I always say every hurricane has a surprise. The tornadoes with Milton were a surprise. Tornadoes with a landfalling hurricane, not a surprise.
Yeah, 100%.
The number of tornadoes, and more importantly, the magnitude of those tornadoes with Milton was quite unusual. They were big. They were on the ground for a long time. They were strong. Most tornadoes with a hurricane like we saw around here with Helene, they're EF0s, they're EF1s. They may be on the ground for a mile or two. These things were on the ground for a long time. They were big. They were wide tornadoes.
At least 3 or EF3 strength, and there's more surveys being done as we speak.
Which is very unusual to have a tornado of that magnitude from a tropical system.
It looked like something you would see out in the Midwest, down a typical, severe weather day. We actually went in, and if you all remember listening to Gerald's episode, he messaged us that night and said, these tornadoes are massive. Is there anything that you're all seeing? Because he's still a student. He's curious. And I honestly, you know how when you get into the hurricanes and you're just focused on the impact, surge, wind, you don't really dive into it unless it's your area.
Right.
The severe weather parameters. I went and looked at the SCU-T, which is basically a sounding of the upper atmosphere. The energy, the storm fuel, as we say, was off the charts. They had sunshine that morning.
Yeah.
So I think that really fueled and primed
things up. Yeah.
So for sure, that was a big story. Obviously, the wind packed a punch, 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
Yeah. But thankfully, it came in. There was two real good things. It came in off its peak, which was also expected. We reached Category 5. It was forecast to weaken upon landfall. It was doing that. It was weakening at landfall. So that helped a lot. It was still really bad.
Yeah.
Especially in those areas just south of Sarasota that just really got the brunt of the storm surge, because while your winds can tend to come down quickly with a weakening storm, storms that were previously really strong and then kind of slowly weaken like Milton did, they still carry a big, big storm surge. It takes a long time for the ocean to kind of calm down from Category 5 to Category 3. We saw a similar situation here with Matthew. We had a storm surge more equivalent to Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane, because at one point Matthew had been a 5 and then a 4. So that was bad, but they got lucky because it was off its peak and came in south of Tampa.
Yeah.
Came in south of Tampa. Had it been, Tampa got raked with the wind and the flash flooding, but how many times is Tampa going to get lucky?
Yeah. And there was a big talk too on Twitter with weather. Like, Tampa's always said, "Oh yeah, we missed another one." They technically missed obviously the worst case scenario, because if you get that storm surge in Tampa Bay, listen, it will happen one of these days.
Oh yeah.
And it will be catastrophic. Yeah. But the wind, that northern eye wall, packed a serious punch. Yeah. I just read overnight that the Tampa Bay Rays with Tropicana Field just said that their obviously roof will not be repaired for the next season. So they're now looking around to figure out where they're going to play baseball. Yeah. Because, it's indoors. They don't have a way to drain that. So interesting there. The last time I remember that roof scenario, Katrina back with the Superdome. Yeah. They had the same instance.
But let's also talk about this. 2 issues with Tampa. Not judging anybody, but one, why would you build a stadium with a roof like that in hurricane country in Florida? 2, the crane that fell downtown.
Yeah. We got 5 days notice.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out how to secure it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about that too.
Yeah. We've dealt with that here. Our cranes didn't fall, but we've had cranes either taken down, or I don't exactly know how cranes work.
Me either.
You take out the screw or a couple of screws that actually allows it to swing in the wind.
Yeah.
And you deal with it.
And then let it be there.
Careening down in the streets. That could have been horrific.
Yeah, imagine during the day or something,
Yeah.
Thankfully, it was a little bit calmer, but I saw where they were talking about that's going to be another 3 to 4 years to repair that building. So recovery efforts, I think everyone kind of just hoping that, it's October 16th when we're recording this, October 17th, maybe when you're watching or listening or even later. We're now getting to that point where statistically the threats, at least for the Carolinas, are a lot lower.
The threats for us, direct hit-wise, are a lot lower. I still think there's another storm or 2.
I think there's still one big storm
that tries to scare the U.S. a little bit. Yeah. Can't say for sure if it's a hit, but I think it, later this month, even early November. Yeah. Caribbean, Southern Gulf, there may still be something.
Yeah, there's been some signals lately just looking long range, Western Caribbean. Obviously, you get something cooked up in there, and we've already seen what the Gulf's capable of this season. where it goes from there, I think, is a big question. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, we need some rain in at least our area.
We could use the remnants of a weak little tropical system. That would be nice. It has not rained around here since the day that Helene impacted the Carolinas.
Yeah, let that sink in. Obviously, I know people up in western North Carolina don't want anything, but for us,
we could use some rain because Helene wasn't a big rain producer for us, 1 to 2 inches for most of us.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been nothing but dry air, so all that moisture is gone, evaporated.
No
I know
humidity.
my grass is crunchy.
Yeah.
It's not the middle of summer, so I'm not as worried about it as normal.
Same.
Most people,
Yeah.
I think probably don't really even notice.
Yeah.
But it could easily go a month. Mm-hmm. We could rack up a month before it rains again. I ain't seeing any signs of rain.
Yeah, me either. And honestly, I think at this point, I've kind of just kept my lawn care pretty basic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to water it. We're almost to the cool season.
No.
Let it go.
Yeah,
it's less work.
Even my flower bed this past weekend, everything was just kind of dry and done. And I thought, man, I'll get out the hose and water it. Instead, I got out the mower and just ran right over all of it. I'm like, done. It was a good summer while it lasted.
Turning over a new chapter as we go into that fall season. It is interesting, though. We talked about storms. They still happen in October, especially some of our more notable storms. Mm-hmm. We actually this week just passed the 70th anniversary of Hurricane Hazel.
Hurricane Hazel, just an absolutely legendary storm. Hugo gets a lot of attention because it's kind of relatively newer.
Yeah.
35 years since Hugo. But 70 years since Hurricane Hazel. Landfall, Little River.
Yeah.
October 15th, 1954. 140 mile per hour sustained winds at the time of landfall. Moving at 50 miles per hour.
I was going to say, the max speed it ever got up to was 55.
Yeah.
So
hauling.
Think about that.
Yeah. An insane hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to get a Hazel today, would easily be the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Especially in the same location.
Yeah, not only here, locally, it would be just a crippling, devastating storm, and it's going to happen again, but the entire East Coast.
Yeah.
Hazel is the storm of legend from literally the Grand Strand into Canada. It's the storm of legend.
We were talking about storm surge. Obviously, storm surge in some spots was 18 feet. I think Hazel and North Myrtle Beach was, 12, 14, something like that?
12 to 14 in North Myrtle, 18 in Calabash. Yeah.
Winds
unbelievable storm.
Were crazy. I was actually looking at some of the forward speed trajectory, and it reminded me a lot of kind of what some of the previous storms have done. Not saying they've been in Hazel intensity, but we always talk about when you have a very compact, strong storm, even some signs of that, of what we saw with Helene and even Milton, you get a fast forward speed. Hurricane force winds are going to extend so far inland. Get this stat, though, because I've found this fascinating. Within 4 hours of landfall, made it all the way up to D.C. Within 12 hours of landfall, was in Canada.
Yeah, 12 hours to go from Little River to Toronto, Canada.
Thing is hauling.
And
the impacts were felt all the way up to Canada, too.
Yeah, let's talk about Canada in a second. Let's talk about locally, what everybody knows about. Oak Island.
Yeah, which
just across the border. 140 mile per hour wind gust. 140 mile per hour wind gust. That is insane. Holden Beach, 200 homes. All 200 homes. There were 200 homes on Holden Beach on October 14th. On October 15th, there were 0 homes left on Holden Beach. Cherry Grove, there were 450 homes. 300 of those were destroyed. 18-foot storm surge in Calabash. North Myrtle Beach, gusts to 130 miles per hour and a 12-foot storm surge. Myrtle Beach Air Force Base, which is now the Market Common for all the new folks in town, used to be an Air Force base. Gusts to 106 miles per hour. 106, that's a hell of a wind.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't sound incredibly strong compared to 130 or 140. But I want you to think about this for people who have been here for previous hurricanes. Hurricane Matthew, if you were here for Matthew, trees down, it was blowing, stuff was blowing all over the place. 2 weeks without power for a lot of spots. Peak gust in Myrtle Beach at the same airport, same location, 74 miles per hour. Hazel brought 106 mile per hour wind gust. And that was before the anemometer blew off.
Yeah.
So it was probably higher than that.
Yeah.
anemometer blew off at 106 miles per hour.
I'm assuming before landfall.
Yep. Garden City, only 2 buildings left out of 275.
Yeah, look, that stat alone right there.
Yeah. And it passed way east of Garden City.
Yeah.
But
that wasn't even storm surge.
Yeah. Yeah. Just incredible. You mentioned the fast movement, 50 to 55 miles per hour. Landfall in Little River. 12 hours later, it was in Toronto, Canada. Basically, hurricane force winds along the entire track. Hurricane force wind gust in D.C. This one will blow your mind. New York City, 113 mile per hour wind gust. Highest wind gust ever recorded in New York City, and that still stands today. Canada, specifically Toronto, Ontario, hurricane force wind gust. Winds gusted at 90 miles per hour on the other side of the lake in Buffalo, in Erie. Storm surge on the Great Lakes because of that. 50 bridges in the city of Toronto destroyed by the flash flooding. They picked up 11 to 15 inches of rain, and most of that came down in 6 hours. 4,000 left homeless in Canada. It was deadlier Hazel was deadlier in Canada than it was in the U.S. Insane storm.
Insane storm. Hurricanes are getting stronger, though.
Climate change. Which dovetails into the next topic.
Yeah.
Which has just been really insane the past month or so. People have a really short memory when it comes to remembering weather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect example, and I use this every year. Every summer around here, without fail, I have a couple people say to me, I don't ever remember it being this hot.
Yeah.
This is the hottest summer I remember. Well, last summer was actually hotter, or the summer before was hotter.
Yeah.
Every single summer, people say that. People just forget. They forget. And it's magnified even more with big events like hurricanes. Of course, there's a couple of sort of mega hurricanes that stand out, like Katrina or Andrew or Hugo. But these big hurricanes have been doing this since long before we were here. So with that, we can launch into...
Yeah, so let's go back to last episode, which the reaction, thank you, was tremendous. I think we had like 800 views, a lot of comments. People were saying they're tired of the political crap, basically, is what they said. We called out, or I called out CBS News about far inland impacts. What did we just read about Hazel?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Canada, New York City, Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we are in a steep, honestly, at this point, we're just going downhill. I feel like it is a downhill climb. And I didn't think we were that bad off until, I guess, after Helene and here comes Milton, and Milton starts to increase. And we start getting messages like we're the ones controlling where hurricanes are going, and we're strengthening this up. And this is all because, you know, we're in there shooting lasers into storms. And I had a message, and I swear to you, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on here.
Say it.
Basically, just said F off.
Yeah.
Get lost. The sheep are waking up, and you need to stop doing what you're doing with other meteorologists. What? Since when are we the target?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I even saw, I don't know if you saw the story, there were death threats.
Yeah. Yeah. Daggum TikTok.
And that's where it originates.
TikTok.
That's
Looking
where it
for
originates.
those clicks. I know I saw, and I'm sure a lot of people did too, the whole thing about Alexa, tell me about Hurricane Milton, and it spouted off the landfall date and how many deaths or whatever, like 3 days before the storm hit. And that was being spread as some sort of aha moment. We caught them. We caught the government. We know. It was a video game.
Yeah.
It was a video game.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Your comments, you posted. I don't even remember some of them. I do remember some of them were they just went in and you went in right back at them.
But then I decided I'm done.
Yeah, same.
I'm done. I did one post about weather modification, hard, whatever, because I felt like I had to. Because it was just coming so hard and fast, just our inbox
Everywhere.
and just hearing it everywhere. And I was like, okay, I got to kind of address this. So I addressed, Project
Even on a
Storm
basic
Fury.
post.
Yeah. And vile. Vile stuff coming out.
And it's crazy to me, and maybe this is the day and age that we live. It's crazy to me that people will believe what they want to believe, fact or fiction. And at that point, that's where I think that if you want to believe it's cool. If not,
fine.
There's
Fine.
nothing else we can do.
Yeah, we're not hiding anything from the government.
No.
We're not being told what to say.
We're not working
by our boss or our boss's boss or our corporate or the government.
Yeah.
We're not hiding lasers, HARP. We're not. We're just not.
Also, let me just say, if we were controlling the weather, we would have a white Christmas here.
Every year.
Right.
If we're controlling the weather, don't you think it'd be a little more fun?
Yeah, we would be enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's see, October 31st. Let's make it cold for Halloween.
Yeah, cold and windy, cloudy. Yeah, just make it right. We're not, and we can't. Okay, so yes, there is some small portion of weather modification going on that has been tried. I mentioned Project Storm Fury. Look it up if you want to. Long story short, they tried seeding hurricanes. They deemed it impossible.
Yeah.
Cloud seeding has been around for a while. You drop silver iodide into a cloud. In theory, it makes more rain, makes more snow, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're not huge impacts. It's not, there was the whole thing in Saudi Arabia with the big flash flood in Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai, one, there was no cloud seeding going on there. That was also just a natural phenomenon that occasionally happens there. It's minimal amounts of modification. And that's about as far as we can go.
Yeah.
We certainly can't create a hurricane. Lord knows we can't steer a hurricane. People are like, the track was so weird how it bended back to the west after landfall. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Look. And I posted that too. Look, here's all these storms that made landfall and bended back west.
Yeah. It's typical. Also, the argument is, well, there's all these patents that come out with
the patents.
Project Cirrus. Here's the thing. You can get a patent for whatever you want to go research. We can get a patent as long as we have some funding and a basis for research to do teleportation.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it happens.
Like I commented on one of my posts. Yeah, I've got a patent that turns a turd into a diamond. Doesn't mean it's happening. It's not happening. And the patents.
I missed that comment.
And the patents are hilarious because some of them that people were sharing on my post about, here's proof. Look at the patent. And it's like a freaking hand-drawn tornado. Looks like something a fourth grader did. We can pay to get a patent for anything. Like you said, anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's happening.
Yeah. Have you noticed Twitter's also been bad?
Yeah.
I've started to hide posts and certain people, and I almost feel like now, just with everything, we're so close to the election. I think it's just whatever we can do to entice fear into people.
Yeah.
Because listen, I mean, at the end of the day, fear is what gets people to either do something or voice an opinion, and I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
And I hope that when all this is done, we go into next year, we kind of go back to a little bit normal when it comes to at least us.
Hope so. Hope so.
Because this is nuts.
Yeah. And I've said this on here a million times. When it comes to climate change and hurricanes and weather modification, show me an extreme event. I'll show you one that matches it or was more extreme.
Yeah.
Anytime you want. Anytime you want. Helene, horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific. Let's go look at Hazel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens.
It happens.
And it's so unfortunate. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah, right. We're not downplaying anything that happened. But it happens. And there's case after case after case where you can see that it has happened in the past.
Yeah, and large gaps to show that it's happened.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing. Obviously, communication for us is going to be the big key. How do we combat the crap that is out there?
I think
we're straight up. Like,
Yeah.
hey, listen, like, we know there's some stuff circulating.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, at some point, I would hope, it's kind of like if you're claiming something's going to happen and nothing does happen, like on your end, you would probably think, okay, well, maybe they are right.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if you're wrong enough times,
Yeah.
or you start to realize you're wrong enough times, a change will come. I don't know.
Yeah.
But congrats. That's a good promotion for you. Going from not being right ever to now controlling the weather. So,
Yeah.
if you can make it great for Brooks's birthday party, that would be fantastic.
I'll see what I can do. If I could control the weather, I would, one, not be sitting here doing this podcast in Myrtle Beach. I'd be a lot richer. I'd be sitting on my little computer somewhere down in the tropics.
Just dialing up the next thing.
Yeah, well, let's see what we're going to fire up next.
We wouldn't need anybody. Anybody.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, too, and I loved, and I get, I guess, maybe their argument of, well, I've seen so many people post about it. Here's the problem, is because everyone's messaging us. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a widespread post from all broadcast meteorologists because people came out of the woodworks.
Just went crazy, and it fired off with Helene, and then here comes Milton 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know, there were some cool things about Milton, some somewhat unusual things about Milton. The rapid intensification, the intensity, still wasn't the top.
No, that eye wall
wasn't the strongest. Mm-hmm. It was way up there. I think it peaked at number five strongest hurricane on record. Yeah,
185 mile per hour.
Fifth strongest on record. It's impressive.
Yeah,
but there were 4 other ones that were stronger, including in the 1930s.
Yeah. Well, and the tornado count, too. I mean, if we're doing weather modification and we want something big, we would have made that to where it was number one. Right now, it's not even close to number one.
Not even close.
For tornado and tropics.
Not even close.
So, obviously, our thoughts and prayers go with those people in Florida and North Carolina. There's a lot still going on, so appreciate that. Where are we, October? Mid of October?
Yeah, let's go back, though, a little bit. Let's kind of bring this back because a lot of the other discussion was about, so many hurricanes that have hit Florida, so many hurricanes that have hit the Gulf Coast in the past, 10 years?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a bad stretch. And I always say the 1950s around here.
Yeah. I saw your post about that.
Would blow your mind. Mm-hmm. The 1950s would absolutely blow your mind. If the 1950s hit today, that decade from about 52 to 60, if that were to happen today, oh boy, these people would be absolutely seriously crazy. Hazel is the one that gets the attention. The year after Hazel, 1955, 2 hits in 5 days, just across the border.
It's crazy.
3 hits total in 6 weeks. Had Connie. 5 days later, you had Diane. A couple weeks later, you had Hurricane Ione. That was 55. That was a year after Hazel. 56, 57 were okay. A couple of close calls. 58, Hurricane Helene, the original Hurricane Helene. We talked about this the last time. 135 mile per hour wind gust in Wilmington. Beat out Hazel. Didn't even make landfall. That was just getting brushed, and they still got 135 mile per hour wind gust, 100 mile per hour wind gust here. 1960, Hurricane Donna, one of my favorite hurricanes to study. I geek out over Donna. It's kind of a forgotten hurricane in hurricane history. Still holds the record as the only hurricane to ever produce hurricane force wind gusts in every single state from Florida to Maine.
That's impressive.
Every East Coast state picked up hurricane force wind gusts from Donna. As Donna was passing the Outer Banks of North Carolina, making landfall, the eye was 50 miles in diameter. Hurricanes in the 50s were strong, and they were big, big hurricanes. Like Donna, 50 miles in diameter.
Some people talking. Imagine that eye.
Yeah. Insane.
And how far hurricane winds would extend with 50 miles in diameter of the center.
Donna had hurricane force winds that extended out 200 miles from the center. 200 miles from the center.
I mean, think about
at its largest, Milton. When Milton was a Category 5, this is amazing too. When Milton was a Category 5, hurricane force winds extended out 30 miles. Tropical storm force winds 80 miles. That's nothing. Tiny little
Very
hurricane.
tiny.
Tiny little hurricane. 200 miles with Donna. Tropical storm force winds 400 miles.
And this is why weather's so fascinating. A, you can't really control, but also B, just to see there and see how every storm is so different and the impacts are so different from all these historic storms. Yeah, I mean, this is just how it happens. Not to mention, the 50s come and then you have some quieter months. Yeah. You have some quieter years.
60s, 70s, 80s. Really quiet for hurricanes. Yes, there were hits.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like it was in the 50s and even the 40s and 50s. The 40s were more Florida in the Gulf. 50s, were more the Carolinas. You had a couple of big ones. You had Camille in 69, Hugo in 89, David, which was big down toward Charleston and Savannah. That was in 79. But it wasn't the constant hits like it was in the 40s and 50s. But then the 90s hit. And in 1995, the Atlantic switch went on.
Yeah.
And it was crazy for about 8 years there, through 2005. That was Katrina. 95 through 2005 was an insane decade for hurricanes. Also for here in the Carolinas. The 90s were amazing. 96, we had Bertha and Fran. 97, there was another one that kind of rode the coast. 98 was Hurricane Bonnie. 99 was Hurricane Dennis and Hurricane Floyd and Hurricane Josephine. People don't remember Josephine. That was the third hurricane that rode up the coast after Dennis and Floyd in 99. And then there was a break after Katrina in the 2005 season, and then starting about 2015, it turned on again. And we're in the middle of that now again. It happens.
History repeats itself.
Yeah.
Always does.
Yep.
Always does. And that's the same way, too, with winter. And I am holding firm on that. Honestly, right now, if our pattern was, if we were in December,
we'd be good. It would be really cold.
Oh, we'd be set.
It'd be really cold. I don't know. I'm kind of giving up hope on winter anymore.
Me too.
It's been really depressing the past 2 years. So maybe if we go into it with low expectations this year, we'll get surprised.
So when we do our forecast for winter weather, I'm
not doing that.
I'm going to say 0. Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. There's our winter outlook.
Warm and mild.
Warm and mild. Humid.
Yeah. Oh, God, it sounds awful.
Real quick before we go, 60 episodes, so kudos on that. 5,400 downloads roughly.
Wow.
22,500 views. A lot of them coming lately with climate change.
Climate change. Flag us. Mark us.
Get us, big brother. Get us. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
Big things coming our way.
Big things coming our way. Maybe we'll be able to talk about that in the next podcast.
Yeah.
If we can squeeze one out next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, we should start to get on a more regular schedule.
Especially now that you're working a little bit more normal hours.
Yeah.
And we're not complete opposites, which is good.
And I guess we need to start planning, too, our little holiday.
Yeah, this is, I guess, the finale should be coming up for this long season 3.
Yeah, which has been going on for, a year and a half now?
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be the running joke. But yeah, I like that. I don't know where we can do it.
And it doesn't even have to be a pause. I mean, a little bit of a pause through the holidays, but we'll just all get together.
I have someone that said they would be interested for a live show.
Yeah? You going to share?
Grand Strand Brewery.
Oh, let's do it.
I think that would be fun.
That would be amazing.
And then we just do live shots out there. They have a beautiful area.
Yeah.
And then we just set up shop. I'd have to talk to him, but
I'd love that.
Yeah, Clayton's been. I was like, hey man, I'd love to. He was like, first off, because they were doing all the breweries got together for. So I messaged him and I put our reporter in touch to go talk to Clayton. And Clayton was like, hey, thanks for thinking of us. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, we would love to do a podcast. He was like, oh my God, that'd be awesome.
That would be fun. Yeah.
It's in a great area, too.
Yeah.
So maybe we do it down there.
That would be fun. Okay.
Maybe they could design an RU Cirrus beer.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be cool? I don't know how long
that
process takes, but anyways, we'll figure that out. So we'll start working on details there.
Yeah.
I think that's it. If y'all have questions, let us know. We'll be back soon, and some exciting things coming in the future.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time.